can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders and their challenges, their ups and downs. And before I introduce today's guests, Guy and Reuven, I like to point people to other episodes. And I've had this amazing, they're part of the Israel Business Leader Series. I had Moise Navon of Mobileye, and he talked about the Mobileye journey of being acquired by Intel. For $13.2 billion, which is amazing. I had Yossi Vardi and John Medved, and they came on separately, and they talked about their journey. And, I made them talk about their biggest misses, who they didn't invest in, which in retrospect, it's always 2020. But so you have to listen to those episodes to hear who were their biggest misses that they're like, I cannot believe I passed on that. That and many more on InspiredInsider.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. I co-founded with my business partner, John Corcoran, and we help businesses give to and connect to their Dream 100 partnerships and clients. We do that by helping you run your podcast. So, in my life, Guy and Reuven, the number one thing in my life is relationships. So I'm always looking at giving to my best relationships, profiling the companies I love and the people I love on my podcast to get them more exposure. And my podcast has been the best thing I've done for my business and my life. So if someone has questions, you can go to rise25.com. And also, it's inspired, both of you may appreciate this, by my grandfather, who was a Holocaust survivor. And his legacy lives on because the Holocaust Foundation did an interview with him, which is on my About page of Inspired Insider. Mm-hmm. So there's an hour-long interview with him talking about the atrocities that happened. And so if you are okay with graphic detail, then I would check that interview out. It's on InspiredInsider.com/the About page. So check that out as well. So before no further ado, I want to introduce today's guest. A big thank you to Guy Barner. I don't know if either of you know him, but he's like, you must have Caja Robotics on. You must have him on. So thank you, Guy. And Yuri Adoni, the author of Unstoppable Startup, Mastering Israel's Secret Rules of Chutzpah. So check that out. But Guy Glass is one of Israel's e-commerce pioneers, founded StyleRiver, the first fashion e-commerce site in Israel, and his role as CTO and COO. What he did is he experienced huge challenges. If anyone's had an e-commerce site, they've experienced challenges in the world of fulfillment, especially, I don't care what's going on, it's always about the operations. And it led him to search for an economic warehouse robotic solution, which was adapted to his needs for infrastructure. So he partnered with Dr. Ilan Cohen, Danny Frishman, and Reuven Della-Torre, and for Caja Robotics. So check it out. If you haven't seen their videos on YouTube, they're remarkable. What robots can actually do. And Reuven is also experienced in robotics, media content providers, telecom, web, mobile markets as CTO, and he has a deep knowledge of autonomous guided robots, warehousing, video streaming, communication. Thank you both for being here, all the way from Israel.
Yep. Hi.
Thank you.
So I wanted to start with, Guy, go back to the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Behind
us. So as you said, we had 2009 I founded StyleRiver with my partner, and we sold most of our share to the biggest media company in Israel, Keshet Mako. It was around 2012, and back then, after we started growing dramatically, we started to look for a robotic solution to our own use. And from the beginning, I had a few things that it was like a demand for me. I wanted to look for a robotic solution with very low ROI, something that will not require for me to change the infrastructure, that can keep use my own shelving, can keep use my own floor, my own boxes. And back then, the only thing I found in the market, it was Kiva system that later on acquired by Amazon. So I came with this concept to develop a very flexible, very scalable robotic solution. The company that I work for, StyleRiver, after I sold most of my share, didn't want to invest in this technology. So at the middle of 2014, formally I quit the company, joined, as you mentioned, with Ilan, Dr. Ilan Cohen and Danny Frishman we founded Caja. 1 month or 2 months later, already also Reuven joined us. First year we just ran for our money we took out of our pocket, only ideas and sketches, but basically we started to recruit employees and raise money only a year after. So what you will see in our site and our technology is basically around 5 years. So, and then from this 5 years, most of the time we develop our technology, and in the last year and a half, we really start to sell and install our system.
Yeah, and so, Reuven, a second I'll have you talk about the technology, but Guy, it seems like a huge undertaking. Starting a robotics company, it's not like there's no minimum viable product that you could just go out the door and start testing right away. What made you, I'm not going to say crazy enough to be like, I'm going to undertake this? It seems like a big project.
Yeah, it's a big project, but our vision from the beginning is I think the cloud technology is a good example for that. We are trying to put as much as possible efforts in the software side and to do something very elastic, very flexible, and that is one of the main reasons. My background, I'm a software engineer. Reuven also will talk also, he has a huge experience, also master degree in mathematics and software. So this is our concept. The concept is to build machines that based on the cloud, based on software. The robots, the brain of the robot should be in the cloud. And in that way, we have a lot of flexibility. So we had a lot of comfort from the beginning that we can achieve that by very low investment in terms of hardware and invest most of our efforts in software. And as you know, and assume most of the people know, that Israel is most familiar in this software capabilities and less in the hardware. And this is what we try to achieve. Then I think we achieved that.
Yeah. I want to talk about the first year, but Reuven, talk about, so Guy comes to you with this idea, okay? You have a lot of experience in a lot of different realms. How did he convince you to join the team and work on this?
Yeah. First of all, it's a good. You're right. First time that I heard about it, it was for me a huge challenge. Thinking about having a multidisciplinary system like that with hardware, with mechanic, electronics, software embedded, etc. Starting it from scratch is challenging. I think that this is one of the main things that make me very enthusiastic from the beginning. For me, I didn't have such a wide system before that I raised from scratch. So for me, it was a real challenge that I wanted to participate with. Actually, I got two guys from our first chairman of the company. So I knew him. I was just leaving my former company that was sold to Yahoo. So it was acquired by Yahoo.
You can tell the name, Reuven.
It's Gigi Levy. Yeah, so Gigi Levy, I don't know if you are acquainted with, but anyhow, is one of I would say one of the angels, one of the most main angels here in Israel.
Yeah, I think I was reading about, is it like iAngel, and he's one of the founders of iAngel?
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
also that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, also.
NFX, by the way, also NFX from the Silicon Valley. It's a venture capital.
Right. So yeah, so I had a chat with him. I came with, I was just discussing with Gigi a few of my ideas, maybe to start a new startup, and he said, okay, if you want me on board with whatever idea that you come, I'm in favor, but you have first to check out with Guy, as I think that this is it's a great chance to do really something big. So yeah, I met with Guy. Had first time it was, as he said, really shocking a little bit. Okay, well, we are starting from scratch, something. But then, as Guy said, so we started to take all the components, say, okay, let's do it in the best way, things that we don't find right now in the market. And we were very innovative in the concept, even today, but in that time for sure. So, and the main thing that I propose, let's go to as much software as we can, and let's leave the hardware, let's say, as basic as can be. And I think that we are on this concept from day one.
So that was a strategy for the first year. Let's just make the software amazing and put in a simple hardware package. So it's not, that's where I guess you can help people provide a economic solution.
That's correct. But it's not just the first year, because I think that this is the main concept that is escorting us from day one. And we are still with this, we are trying to have as much logic as we can in the cloud, and have the robots doing whatever they need to do, and it's interface with the warehouse itself. But all the business logic is not there, and we are doing things that other competitors are not even didn't went to this path, let's say. So you will find that we are doing nearly everything in the cloud.
Talk about the technology. For people who haven't seen the videos, watching the little Caja robots kind of just stream around the warehouse. Talk about what it does.
Okay, so Reuven. Oh, okay.
No, go ahead, Guy.
Okay. So a few words about the concept of the system. Again, is that every components we develop, even right now, new components, new feature, everything that driven us is if it's not fit to scalable and flexible, is not entering to our system. Means our system, we can integrate very tolerant to almost any type of a floor. We can be compatible with any type of a shelf. You don't need, like most of the other solution that need a very unique shelving. We don't need a very unique shelving. We can integrate almost any type of a shelf. We are very tolerant to almost any type of a box. It can be plastic box, it can be beans, it can be tote, it can be carton box. So everything, and based on that is our robots. Again, if you can compare it to you can compare most of the robotic system as to autonomous car, means that they are very autonomous. When they have a problem, they solve it by their own, like autonomous car. We have a very different concept. So our robots are enabler, and they get mission. If they cannot do a task that's sent from the cloud, they're reporting it back, and the cloud decides everything. We think that in terms of optimization, we can achieve more. And again, this also serving us in terms of flexibility, because if tomorrow morning we want to add additional manpower, we just send you robot, they click the button, wait for 30 seconds, robot join his friends and start to work. So this is what, in terms of technology, in terms of, let's say, in terms of product, what we want to achieve and what we achieve.
What are the biggest pain points? Why are people buying the system? What are the biggest pain points it's solving for them? And was it different from what you thought originally?
Yeah, I can tell you in terms of originally when we started the system, on top of that, we thought that our robots not only bring boxes to the picking station, but they also build the infrastructure of the warehouse itself. But so we change a little bit, and eventually we understand that the infrastructure is very, very expensive. So it's better to integrate with existing infrastructure that is currently in the market. I think the main challenges for us is, first of all, small company in terms of business, small company from Israel at the beginning. I think people like it's not so easy to integrate to a startup company, especially in the hardware world when you need almost 100% uptime. So I think a lot of people are afraid of that. And I think currently this is our main challenge, because in terms of concept of the system and how it works, everybody really like the concept, but I think some of the customers are less early adapters. So for us, this is, I think, the main challenge. In terms of cloud, everybody liked the cloud. At the beginning, we saw that people like to install in-premises servers, but as time goes by, everybody understands this is a huge advance for them to be in the cloud. So it was a huge challenge at the beginning, and right now it's something that is not really huge stuff. And again, currently in this period with the coronavirus, I think it's a huge challenge how you can do remote support, how you can support your customer. Again, we talked about that. We already have support in the States. Again, we design our system in such a way that every component of our robot connected to the cloud means the motors, the driver, all the sensor, everything connect to the cloud. And we know that's why we can do a lot of predictive maintenance, and we control everything remotely. And of course, at the end, if we need something inside, and we have support and service in the state. So in that way.
When you were getting, before your first customer and you were testing it, how did you test it? How did you test the software and then the hardware together?
So we started in the beginning. We had not like usual startups that take 2 rooms and are working on the software. We had to take a lot of space, and we took it in Binyamin in Israel. We had a lab that was about 200, 300 square meters. And we started working with a robot that we manufacture for the lab. We built up a small warehouse, and with experience of guy of working in real warehouses, we knew what we are looking for, and that's the starting point that we started. So eventually, we had 2. I think very big advantages when we started to sell. One was the lab, as I said, and the second was that customers came, and we have a very unique simulation tool that it's realistic in its real simulation. It's not something that trying to simulate the reality, but it's one-to-one with the reality. So we started to show them a real virtual warehouse running on their data that they provided to us. So they started to look at it and says, we know this order, these are our SKUs. Amazing that these virtual robots know how to take the boxes and stuff and bring it to the picking station. And it was very convincing. So big customers were willing to really start looking into our solution in depth.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the selling points is let the robotics do kind of the minute details and then send it to the human who needs to do certain human checks.
Yes. So yeah, you're right. We are saving, and actually, I think most of the robotic solution, everyone have its own approach, but most of the let's say the solution, robotic solution that use sterilized area. I'm not talking about collaborative robot. Most of them save around 80% from the labor cost. The rest of the 20% is based on what we call picking station. So the robot bring the boxes to a picking station, a human pick an item, the screen tell him, you need to pick this item, put it in customer order, and that. So this is around 20%. There are, by the way, other very nice startups that are trying to solve the pick and place solution. This to focusing on this 20%. Yes, we are saving this 80%, as you said, bringing the boxes to the picking station, and from there, the human pick and put it in the customer order.
Talk about the first few customers. I imagine, like you said, you need an early adopter, right? And talk about how it was getting the first few customers.
So first customer, we had one of them was from Germany, again, connected from one of our investors. It's a company called Via Store. It's distributed, actually, this is a distribution company that they have their own technology, but also distribute other technology. We did with them pilot. And it was in Germany, and the other one that is company called Bergen Logistics. They are based in New Jersey, 3PL, third-party logistics, focusing on the fashion industry. So again, we met with them just at the beginning. Let's say it was like 2016. The introduction made by one of our small shareholder. Did the introduction, the product wasn't mature enough, so we stopped, and after 2 years later, we reconnect with them. Again, the product was more mature, but still not only final, so they started as partner with us. We start to jump on that together. They really helped us in terms of designing, and we start very small. We start with only 2 robots, around 150 square meter, around 1,000 square foot of warehouse, very small, and we grow every like 1 month, 2 months. We added additional space, we added additional robots. We did a lot of changes based on their experience, based on their requirement. We send our engineers, and one of our QA guys did relocation for 1 year to Bergen Logistics before we recruit someone to our US subsidiary. So we started step by step. It wasn't so easy. We had a lot of problems at the beginning, a lot of glitches, a lot of stops, but both sides knew in advance that it will take time in order to stabilize the system. And right now we are running there with 25 robots, around more than 2,000 square meters, around 20,000 square foot. Wow. Of a warehouse. We have there around 25,000 boxes running there, and pretty soon we'll expand this area. Expand this area, probably multiple this area, and again looks really promising and very, very good.
What do you?
By the way, some of the video you've seen before is from this location.
Yes, exactly. What do you think that saves them from time or human labor having 20 robots?
Yes, so we save them, first of all, space. Space because, first of all, we go higher. regular picker, in terms of manual, can pick around efficiently up to 1.8 meter high, and we can go 2 times higher. So first of all, in terms of space, not only in terms of physical space, but also in terms of optimization. We know how to do consolidation, take, boxes that left with only small items, connect them together and things like that. So the space is more efficient. And also in terms of inbound, the inbound process in our system is very easy because we can use any type of a box. The inbound process is very, very quick. Just take boxes, put it in regular shelf, robot come from the other side. So labor cost in terms of inbound and labor cost in terms of course, labor in terms of pickers that would need to walk in the warehouse. And of course, mistakes, by the way, like 3 or 4 months, no, actually right now with the corona, around 6 months ago, we also closed the light in this warehouse. So think about it around.
I saw that. The robots have like little headlights on them.
Yes, exactly. So around 20,000 square foot without a light at all. Imagine in terms of air conditioning and lights, how much it can save them in terms of.
What made you think of that? That seems like something I would never think. Just let's turn off the lights and let the robots see. What made you think of that?
Because they don't care.
Well, I know, but I don't know if I would have even thought to do that. But yeah.
No, actually, I can tell you.
We can say even that one of our pilots were in a place that people couldn't work because it was 50 degrees Celsius heat, that place, and it was a useless space for them. And we said, you can put robots and it can work. So actually, the beauty is that robots can work in an environment that people are not able to work in.
Yeah.
So light, heat, etc.
What did you learn from the first install? Like you said, there's always the first time going to be glitches or customizations. What did you learn from the first install that you brought to the next one to make it easier?
I think that actually the main thing I think that we found that when you are testing in lab in a very good environment, it's too sterile. So you will not really have real life problems like you have in real warehouses. And one of the advantages that might be a disadvantage, but was an advantage from this perspective, that this warehouse that we started with is not the best, let's say, surface and the best space that someone can think about. So we had a lot of challenges that we didn't think even that we will find and occur in warehouses. We find them there, and we had to find solutions. So that's one of the main things.
Yeah. What's the difference selling? Go ahead.
By the way, Jeremy, it's never underestimate the challenges.
Yeah.
Never.
Is it kind of like the military? Is it kind of like the army?
Yes, something like that. But we always, you want to promise the customer it will be good, that it will work. Don't worry, but by the way, but between two of us, between me and Reuven, I am the one that don't worry, it will work, and always Reuven tell me how it will work. It will not work. Yeah, we don't need. We never tested. So we have some kind of a balance between. I think as years go by, me and Reuven know, even without talking, we know how to know each other in terms of what we can and what we can do.
I could hear that. I could hear that from the first conversation you had, because I could see you going, listen, this is going to be the best thing. And then I could see Reuven's brain going, well, how are we going to do that? Like, look at all this stuff we need to create to get to what you're talking about. Like, you're probably like, don't worry about it. Reuven's like, I'm worried about it.
Yeah, but you have to see that something that we have really, the idea, the concept is so great that this customer that came in the first time, he really didn't see anything. You can imagine after half a year that we had this startup. So he understood the concept. He understood that this is really an innovative concept that he didn't see anywhere. So he has the patience to go with us and to say, okay, I understand in the first time it will not be easy, but as time passed, they became more and more enthusiastic once they saw it running and working.
What seems to be the motivator for the companies that want to take this on? Is it like work staff? Is it space? What is the motivator for them to pull the trigger to be like, okay, we're going to take this, it's not just a money investment. It's just a time to get it right. What do you think their biggest motivator is?
I think that we are looking for customer that, again, if our main advantage is in terms of flexibility and scalability, so we are looking for customer that flexibility and scalability is the most important thing for them. For example, 3PL that have a lot of very different type of customers. So they need a lot of flexibility. So if they took customer and put it in their customer in our system, and tomorrow morning their customer will leave them, and another customer come to their facility with different boxes, and if the automated or robotic system cannot fit for that, so this is not flexibility. So they need a flexibility. If customer grow, e-commerce customer that grow 20-30% a year, he must have flexibility, he must act fast. So if he wants to open a new warehouse in 6 months, and we can move our system without almost zero downtime, without a huge investment in terms of CapEx, this is flexibility. So we are looking for customer. If customer, it's a B2B customer, grow 1%, 2% a year, very limited number of SKU, don't have any spikes like Cyber Monday, Black Friday, very stable. This is not the customer we are looking for. And actually those customers are not looking for us. We are looking for customers that look for flexibility and scalability. So this is the first thing I do with customers that call us. There are a few questions that relate to flexibility and scalability. If it's not fit there, I can recommend them other solution, but not our solution.
Yeah. So when you say, flexibility, do you mean size of packages and weight of packages, or what is flexibility?
Flexibility means, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's shelves. We can work with nearly any kind of shelves, any kind of boxes. You don't have to change anything. You can add space or decrease space. You can close part of the warehouse for the robot and then open it the day after. Nothing is changing. You are using the same software. You just have to configure, and this configuration is really intuitive and very easy. So it's really a thing that it's go without saying from the customer perspective that if he has a new challenge, he knows that we don't have to find a solution that will be tailored for him. Our system is flexible enough to absorb it and contain it and work with it. So that's you can add robots, decrease robots. You don't have to configure it anywhere. Just put a robot in, switching on, and he will start working with the system. So nothing is too complex to change. That's the main thing there.
Yes, so, yes, I agree. For example, if customer wants to, let's say he bought shelving from specific manufacturer, and tomorrow he wants to add additional 2 aisles from different manufacturer, or he wants to replace the boxes for different size of boxes. He wants to move between warehouses. He wants to change the structure of the warehouse. Again, as Reuven said, add more robots, remove robots. He can do whatever he likes, very easy. And, on Cyber Monday, he wants to list a few more robots for these spikes. It's very easy. So again, flexibility is the key.
So I have two questions for each of you, and then I want to end on Guy a crazy, not top secret IDF story, Israel Defense story. Something that's not top secret because I don't want to share anything on here. Someone's gonna hunt you down. But the two questions for each of you first. What's been a really big low point or challenge point? And then on the flip side, what's been a proud moment? Reuven, you want to start? What's been a big challenge moment or low point? Because obviously any startup, any company, it's peaks and valleys.
Right. I think that for me at least, one of the main was quite in the beginning when we had a little bit different concept in the beginning that we wanted to work with stackable bins. That was the idea. And we were working on this concept, and then came this first customer, via store, as the guy mentioned, and they said, look, this is what will not work. And in the first second, it was like saying, you have a great concept, but it will not work, just change it. And it took us, one day to say, okay, let's go to the drawing again. Let's start from the beginning and think how we can use the same technology, the same thing, but changing the concept. I think that this was one of the great things as well, because eventually that gave us this flexibility that right now it's, from our perspective, every new design we are thinking first, is it flexible? Is it scalable? Is it elastic? If yes, okay. If not, let's leave it.
Yeah. It's a bit, I don't know if it's it's not meant to be a slap in the face, but it's like, you're working so hard behind the scenes and then someone in 1 second just goes, no, not going to work. Like, okay. You almost have a straight face and go, okay, I hate you right now. Guy, what about you? What's been a big challenge moment or a low point?
I think, first of all, it's something that relates to the software. At the beginning, we just need to remember that Reuven need to remember that we had a conversation. What would be the concept of the system? How much autonomous or non-autonomous we'll give to our robots? And at the end, we decide to go with the approach that will not give them the ability to be real autonomous robots. And it was a really huge challenge because we didn't find anyone at the market that doing something like that. Everybody told us that we are crazy to do something like that. It requires a lot of computing power and things like that. And the opposite side for that was that it was, for me, only after we saw it was only a year, I think more than a year from now, not a little bit more than a year from now, that I came to Bergen and I saw more than 10 robots working together on this concept based on the cloud. Nothing installed in this warehouse. We have 5 mega bandwidth of warehouse, 10 robots work perfectly because before that it's run on simulation, and Reuven told me the simulation is exactly what you can expect in the real world, and it was hard to believe. And to be there, I remember that I stood there around for 4 hours on the same place, looked at the robot, took videos, sent to all my friends, all the employees, all my investors, everyone. It was amazing. And it took me to see that around 4 years, more than 4 years, and I was really proud on that.
That was a proud moment for you. Yeah, I can imagine like 4 years of work, seeing it in action.
Yeah.
Right.
Before that we saw, 1 robot, 2 robots, 3 robots, but when you start to work on, real production site with more than 10 robots, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we started, it was something that was really disruptive because no one uses and this kind of navigation the way that we are using it. And it was something, we have a patent, of course, on it. But when we started, I remember the discussion with Guy that he said, look, if will not work, we are going all home and we don't have anything, and I said, look, I am going to it because if it will work, this is something that no one will be it will not be easily adopted by others. And eventually it works.
If it works, a tough road. There's a moat there. Someone can't just start this up in a day. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes behind it. So it's very protectable in that sense. But first of all, thank you, both of you. Everyone could check out Caja Robotics. It's CAJA Robotics. And check out what they're doing. Check out some of the videos, and you can go to cajarobotics.com to check out what they have going on. So I figured, Guy, we'll leave people with, I ask about the IDF story, Army story, because it's not just for fun, but because, it's part of what gives the resilience and the decision-making and the risk-taking to Israel that's unique to Israel. Right. And, any of the people I've interviewed talk about that, having that experience is huge from a, maturity standpoint, from a risk-taking standpoint. So I'm wondering one of the IDF, experiences that shaped you. And plus, we were talking about Fauda before we hit record, so I have to.
There is few, and I will not talk about it here, but I agree with you that in terms of risk, it's not something we're afraid to take. We are familiar to be failed. We want to run pretty fast. A lot of the time, it's not, again, startup, it's like a life, it starts at the beginning, you need to run pretty fast. And in Israel, we know how to run pretty fast. We start to run, and a lot of the time we start to run, and only after that, we start to think. And this is, I think, one of the huge advantage here in Israel. But on the other hand, we need to understand that it's not good it's good for a certain point of the company, and for a certain point you need to change the state of mind and move it. And by the way, that's one of the reasons you see a lot of startup companies in Israel selling in very short period. Because in Israel, still, we don't have a lot of experience how to take a small company and convert it to a huge company. It's not so easy. We can see more and more on that here in Israel, but it's only a matter of time. And I think, yes, this is one of the things we learned from the Army. Again, a huge advance, but we need to understand that there are also a lot of disadvantage in this kind of approach.
So,
but I think that eventually you learn how to fail. I think in the Army, that you have always to have plan B. You always have to think what happened if, and this is something that not everybody are used to thinking this way. I think that's why I said to you in the beginning that one of the challenges was that, okay, they told us this is not the concept, look and think about. So, it's easy to fail in this part. And, but okay, we'll find a way. We have to find a way because that's the only way that we can really succeed. So I think that eventually from the Army, all of us learned how to handle very complex situations and always to think what happened if.
I read it on your site, but I didn't know it beforehand.
It's actually, there are a lot of meaning. It's some kind of a slang, so if you're, it's like, because, if your kid asks you something and you don't have patience to answer him, say him, why? Because. Just do it because Caja. So this is one of the meaning, and a lot of other meanings. So we like the combination of our robot move boxes in the most optimal way, and we like the combination with the Israeli word. So
yeah, box in Spanish and Israeli, just do it because, right?
Right.
So everyone check out Caja Robotics, CAJA robotics.com. Thank you both for sharing the journey.
Thank you, German.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.